Now let's have a look at some examples of how you can use the sound objects. I created an example file, Quiz with sound. This is the quiz that we created last week. And now I added a question about sound to it. Last week we only had questions about movie trailers actually. And this week I wanted to add a sound question. And I want to show you how this is done. So I'm going to open up my action script. I already added all the action script in here, so I'm not going to type it with you because it's a lot of work and it's not actually necessary. I'm only going to show you how it's done. So first I'm going to add, of course, my sound channel here. So here is my sound loader, which let's call it a sound loader. So I'm going to add a sound channel in here so I can use that channel to play my sound. I'm not actually going to use the sound variable yet because I'm going to create it inside of my next question, or what is it called, load question functionality. And I'm also going to play the sound and load, of course, the sound in my load question functionality because the sound needs to be different at every question. So I'm not going to load the sound here because that would not be necessary. I can just use one sound variable for all my sounds, and that's an easier way. If I want to use one sound variable for all my sounds, I can't create a global variable for it. I need to create a variable inside the question and fill it inside the question with information. So let's go to that part now. Here I have my array. Perhaps you can remember, it's also in the comment. This is my question type. So my first two questions are of the type film. I added a third question in here, and this question is of the type sound. Of course I added all this other stuff as well. You're listening to a sound. This is actually the question of an animal. Which animal is it? Well, that's the question. Then I'm setting my file type just like I did with the video. So I'm setting my file reference, which is actually seagull.mp3. Then I'm setting the correct answer here, which in this case is seagull, of course, because it's the sound of a seagull. Then I'm setting the 4 question options. So you can answer hawk, raven, pigeon, or seagull, which is the third answer. So let's move down to our load question functionality, because that's the place where we're going to load the question, and that will select, of course, if it's a movie question or a sound question that we're doing. So last week we already created in the tutorial, we created a check if it was a film question. We have it in here. So if current question array 1, which is actually, of course, the second position of the array, equals film, then we know that it is a film question. I'm going to stop my sound by adding sound channel dot stop, because I don't want to play my video and my sound at the same time, which could happen, of course. Last week we only had video, so the next video that we loaded in the load question functionality would replace the previous video. So it will never play at the same time. There will never be two videos playing at the same time. But if we're going to use the sound variable, the sound will not replace the previous video. So we will actually have to stop it. Stopping a sound is not done by the sound variable, but it's done by the channel. You're actually stopping the channel, and all of the stuff you're doing with a sound is actually done by using the sound channel. Of course, you can get the help of the sound channel by double-clicking the sound channel variable here, right-clicking it with your mouse, and selecting View Help. This is everything you can do with a sound channel. It's very cool. You can actually see the left peak level and the right peak level, which means the volume, so you can make a nice visualization like I already said. You can see when the sound is completed, and as you can see, you can also stop the sound, and that's what we're doing right here. It doesn't have that many options actually, the sound channel variable, because you don't need that many options. So I'm going back to the load question function. In here I'm loading a movie, and in here I'm telling if the type or actually my current question array 1 equals sound, then I'm going to stop my video from playing and I'm going to make a new sound request just like I did in the actual example before this, in the part of the video tutorial before this. I'm going to tell my action script where the sound actually is located. It's located in the folder sound, and I'm going to tell the name of the sound, which is of course current question array 2, which actually refers to the MP3 file. Then I'm going to add my sound loader, which I called it this time. Last time I called it my sound. Now I'm going to call it sound loader. Doesn't really matter what you call it. I think sound loader is actually a better name, because you're calling the UI loader, or image loader, or SW app loader, whatever you want. So that's why I'm calling this one sound loader. It's of the type sound. It's a new sound, and in here I'm actually going to immediately load my sound request. That's a possibility. That's what you can place here between the brackets. Of course you can use the load command like we did in the previous example, but as you can see in the code hint, you can also add the URL request immediately in here. So you don't need to actually add a load functionality in here, which you could do of course, but it's some extra syntax. What I mean is that you can also delete it from here and of course add sound loader dot load bracket opening and then add your sound request, which actually means the same as just adding the sound request directly when you create a new sound. So whichever way you want it, this is a little bit shorter. This is perhaps a little bit more obvious, a little bit more clear, so whatever you want. Of course then I'm going to play my sound loader that I just created in sound channel 1. And just like with the previous example, I am finished.